4CRB now presents Legal Matters, proudly brought to you by Bell and Senior Lawyers. Call them today for all your legal needs on 07 5532 8777. This program provides general legal information only. It's not personal legal advice. Everyone's situation is different, so please seek independent advice for your own circumstances.
Well, it's a very good morning to Andrew Bell from Bell and Senior Lawyers. Morning.
Morning, Colin. Lovely day. Great to be back.
It is. It's nice to see the sunshine after, a week of threatening rain. But, yes, the sunshine is back and we've got cooler temperatures, so winter's well and truly here. We were speaking off air, and every time we talk off air, you come up with a fun fact that walks through the door during the week. I love this one. Do you want to tell the listeners about it?
Yes, well, all sorts of people have all sorts of legal problems, and one problem we had this week related to what birds can you have in your apartment on the Gold Coast. Not an area of law that I was familiar with before we looked it up and read the regulations, but if you're in an apartment, if you've had to move from a house and you're under 300 square metres, there's very different rules about how many animals you can keep for all sorts of different sorts of animals. So, for example, you can't have a peacock unless you've got 4,000 square metres.
Well, that's okay. Fair enough. Potentially a good thing.
But you can have, and they define it by the size of the bird, so I'm a little bit confused if the bird grows up, if it goes through multiple categories, but you can have 4 little budgerigar-sized birds, you can have 2 cockatiel-sized birds, and 1 cockatoo-sized birds. But if you quiz me on what the average size of a cockatoo is, Colin, that's a bit much for me at this time of the morning.
Well, look, fun fact. That's a good start. Well, our topic of the day is fairly contemporary. We've got e-bike laws pending to fall very, very shortly, and we thought we'd just tackle the minutiae, let's say, or the detail. So why don't we start there? What makes an e-bike illegal in Queensland right now?
Okay, so for those who aren't familiar, but I'm sure they've probably seen them driving along the coast, the big fat-wheeled e-bikes, but also they can look like a normal push bike as well. But the differentiation is they've got a battery and they've got a motor in them, and that's what makes something an e-bike. And the rules are getting toughened significantly coming up, but at the moment you can have a motor that goes up to a continuous power of 250 watts, regardless of the size of the rider, and it can only give you motor assistance up to 25 kilometres an hour. And if it does more than that, then it's classed as a motorbike.
Wow. Okay. So that is today. And I did neglect to mention this is a talkback program. This is your opportunity to get some free legal advice right here this morning. So we'd love to hear from you. It is your show. 0755 208888 is the number. Please don't leave your call to the end of the show. We'd love to hear from you. All right. Okay. And if it doesn't meet these criteria of size of motor and speed that it's capable of, what happens?
Well, essentially it turns into a motorbike. There are a few other subtleties. You can only have a throttle that takes you up to 6 kilometres an hour. It's got to have pedals so you can ride it. You can go faster than 25, but the motor can't be working then. But if that's the case, there could be fines over $1,000 if it's seen as an illegal motorbike. You could potentially lose your car licence. If you're in an accident, you could be in trouble for driving uninsured. It would be a really bad day for you getting done on an illegal motorbike, Colin.
So that's now today, isn't it?
Today, yes.
So we've got some changes coming up on 1 July. So can I still go fast on a legal e-bike?
Yes, you can, but the motor must cut out at 25 kilometres an hour. So if you're going down a really big hill and you're going faster than that, however, you still have to follow the speed limit. So if you do go above 60 and you're overtaking cars down the hill in a 60 zone, then you can be done for speeding, but the bike isn't supposed to be able to. So where we had issues with these e-bikes and why they've come in is a lot of people have either imported them saying they're only going to use them off-road,
yes,
which is illegal use, or they've got really powerful motors in them, and they're software limited to 250 watts. But the kids have worked out how to change the software, so now you'll see them overtake you when you're on a suburban street.
That's right, and we've all seen the vision on the television of bikes driving up the middle of the road and people doing wheelies. The concerns have been in the past that I can't identify them if they hit my car. People have been hit while walking down the street, and again, either gravely injured because they can get up to high speeds, and they're very weighty in themselves.
Absolutely. Even a normal push bike, I know some people have been in some serious incidents with them, can cause all sorts of damage to passengers, but these bikes are 20 plus kilos and travelling at 60 kilometres an hour. So yeah, there's a lot of danger involved.
All right, this is a Talkback program. We'd love to hear from you. 0755 208888. Any legal question is on the table this morning. We don't have to just be talking about e-bikes. We'd love to hear from you. 0755 208888. All right, we're moving now to what happens on July 1. Take us through.
Okay, so the bikes, the government's recognised this as a problem, and they're putting in the rules particularly around when you can drive these bikes on the road and on the footpath. If you're on private property, that they don't necessarily apply. But for example, the first thing they're doing is putting in speed limits on footpaths and shared paths to 12 kilometres an hour.
Nice.
You can get done for speeding if you're above that with an e-bike or an e-scooter. After that, they're formally putting in a process of random breath testing. They can pull over any e-bike rider and test them for alcohol, and it's the same 0.05 limit as there is for driving. They're also putting in significant fines. From $518 to $6,900 if it goes to court.
Okay, so this is going to be quite significant. The breath testing is going to catch a lot of people off guard, I would imagine.
Yes, I would. And they have been marketed towards people who don't have a licence, or I know some people are claiming that they can ride them home from the pub and enjoy a few. Well, that won't be the case from July the 1st.
All right, so if you're underage, let's say you're 14 or 15, and you I won't say get caught driving your bike, but let's say doing the wrong thing. Who gets the fine?
Well, I'm actually not sure about the drink driving question, but they are bringing in rules around compliance. So in the past, it's been rules around what can be sold on the road. Now the police have been empowered that they can actually check your device on the side of the road. They can put in motor testing, and I've seen them do that, but they're also putting in rules that you've got to have a compliance plate that says that this particular vehicle meets this particular Australian standard, EN 15194 for those Googling at home. And if it doesn't meet those criteria, then the parents can be fined for the vehicle. They can also have the vehicle taken off them, impounded and destroyed. So your $2,000 e-bike could be crushed, and then you could be out for a $500 fine for your kid if they're driving the wrong sort of thing on the road. Nice.
Well, look, it's nice to see that there's some common sense coming into it. I understand that there will be a few people who are a little upset about the changes, but I do know, especially our demographic, have been very concerned about what's been going on with respect to these devices. Kids driving up and down the road like they own it, wheelies, we're very worried about running them over. So I think that these changes are going to be welcomed.
I think so. I mean, I get very worried when I've had them dart in front of me, overtaking me at the traffic lights about hitting someone. You know, they can avoid you, but if you're in your lane, you can't necessarily avoid them. And the other big change that's coming in is licensing requirements. So from the 31st of August, if you're under 16, you can only drive an e-bike on the road if you're accompanied by an adult.
Nice.
And if you're an adult, you can only drive an e-bike on the road or the footpath if you have at least a learner's permit. So if you've lost your licence or don't have a licence, you can't drive an e-bike if you're above 16.
Okay, so it very much looks like we're starting to put rules in place like cars and motorbikes. If you're under 16, you must have a learner's permit.
Well,
over
16 you must have learners, and otherwise you have to be accompanied by an adult. Although I do have a 14-year-old who'd be more than happy to start driving right now.
Yeah, so they're always very keen to grow up, aren't they? All right, it is halfway through the program. We've got 15 minutes to go. It is your turn now. We'd love to hear from you. 0755208888 is the number to call for some free legal advice this morning. Don't leave it to the end of the program. 0755208888. We'll just go to a word from our sponsor.
Wills, probate, powers of attorney or property matters are legal issues that can feel overwhelming. Don't put off dealing with them. Call our trusted sponsors, Bell and Senior Lawyers. They explain everything in plain English and guide you through every step of the way. For caring, experienced advice, phone 07 5532 8777 or head to bellsenior.com.au today. Bell and Senior Lawyers, making legal matters simple.
All right, we're back and we're with Legal Matters, and we're with Andrew Bell from Bell and Senior Lawyers. This is your opportunity to get some free legal advice this morning. 0755208888 is the number. We have been talking e-bikes and the new rules that are coming in with those. We're going to downshift. We're going to move into another area of law now, family law. Doesn't mean that your questions need to be related to either of these two topics. We're just running through the changes and the updates as to how these areas of law work. You can pose your question on any area of law you like. 0755208888. All right, let's move into the fundamentals or the foundations. Family law. Andrew, why should someone in a happy, stable relationship care about any of this?
Well, yeah, and this is why I thought we would do a series on this. We did AI and computing the last couple of weeks. We're going to do family law for the next couple of weeks. Just because you're in a relationship doesn't mean that this isn't going to become an issue later on. A lot of people with the worst outcomes at the end are people who aren't sure how the rules apply or if they even apply to them at all. I mean, it's a fact that many relationships end. People make financial decisions without understanding the consequences of those. People can live together for years not realising that they've created legal rights and obligations. And if you understand the basics, you can at least understand how to protect yourself better.
Yeah, that's great. 0755208888 is the number to ask a question of Andrew Bell from Bell and Senior Lawyers. We'd love to hear from you this morning. What actually is family law in Australia?
So family law is a federal law. Most of the time here we discuss state-based legislation. However, this is federal law. So there's a Family Law Act 1975 that applies in every state and territory. It now applies to de facto relationships as well as married relationships, same-sex relationships and heterosexual relationships. And it covers how we deal with children, how we deal with property after a relationship ends.
Okay. And what does it cover?
So the big areas is divorce, so how are you officially no longer married, property settlements after a relationship ends, what happens with the property, and parenting orders. So where do the children live, how are they paid for, and then also child support and spousal maintenance come into that as well.
This is an interesting one because it usually comes down to definitions. It's very easy to say, hey, I'm married because you had a ceremony. But de facto, how do we define that? And is that a state-based thing? Is it a across the country the same rule applies?
Well, it was state-based things and it was inconsistent and it was recognised in some states and then it wasn't. But now it's federal and it's consistent across the whole country. So the rules look at how long have two people lived together, whether there was a shared residence, the nature of their finances, because the de facto relationship is defined regarding. Sorry, I'm trying to find the exact legal term. I thought I had it written down, but I didn't. But I want to be precise. But a genuine committed relationship is what a de facto relationship is. If they go for more than 2 years, then once that ends, there could be property rights for both parties who are in that relationship. So sometimes it's an evidentiary issue in these family law matters about picking out, was there actually a de facto relationship? And there's lots of law around that. It's reasonably easy if people are living in a romantic relationship together under the one roof for many years. But even if you're not under the one roof, a de facto relationship could be there. And that could mean superannuation splits. It could mean spousal maintenance. It could mean a whole lot of things for that property settlement.
Okay, well, we'll be moving through this in the next, over today and the next couple of weeks. We've got our first caller. It is a very good morning to John. John, ask your question of Andrew.
Good day, Andrew. It's just a quick question.
Good day, John.
You've been discussing e-bikes.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest thing I have is I don't mind bikes on the footpath, but most bikes have a bell. Why can't they get people to ring the bell as they come past? I reckon that should be a rule.
I believe it is a rule. I think it's not a roadworthy bike if it doesn't have a bell, and they can get pinged for that. And I believe it's actually part of the road rules.
Sorry.
Safety and respect, I agree, should both be there, and the bell should be used heavily. But I think they are actually committing an infringement if they're unsafe passing or not using a bell properly.
You're right, John. I have actually experienced it where they just whiz by you. There's no dinging of bells and no courtesy whatsoever.
Right, I won't disturb you anymore. I just heard you say that I was driving in the drive. I thought, hang on, I'm going to say something about these bells.
I even know some people with some very fast racing bicycles, and yes, they've had to strap on a bell onto the front of it, even though there's not a place for it, just to make sure that it's actually road legal.
Road legal. Right, I'll leave you alone. Thanks for that.
Good on you, John. All right, if you'd like to ask a question just like John did, we'd love to hear from you. 9 minutes left in the program. Do not leave it too much longer. It can be about e-bikes. It can be about QCAT. It can be about what's going on with a neighbour over the fence. We'd love to hear from you this morning. 0755 20 8888. We've moved into family law now, and we were just talking about the definition of de facto. We're going to move in and say to the next question, does family law only apply to married couples? Now, I know that we did tackle de factos, but we better move on to the other couples as well.
No, so it applies to any married relationship, de facto relationship, or if there is a child, even if there wasn't a legal de facto relationship, then it covers all of those instances.
There's the three definitions.
Yeah, or if someone's adopted. I guess if there's a parenting matter or a relationship matter, that's what's covered by family law. Domestic violence is covered by a completely separate regime, which does relate to people in relationships, and we might counter that in a week at the end of this series, and that's Queensland legislation. So domestic violence rules are different everywhere, but if we're looking at property settlements and parenting orders, which is the main areas of family law, it's married and de facto and relationships where children are involved.
All right, child support. It's always a big one. How does that work?
Okay, well, child support is administered by what used to be called the Child Support Agency, which is now part of Services Australia. You can't contract out of child support, so you can come up with your own agreement, but if either parent wants to enforce child support, they can go to Services Australia and have it arranged. And child support's where a formula will be assessed on where children are living, the relative incomes and assets of both parental parties, and then they will make a determination of what needs to be paid, and those are legally binding requirements.
Well, there you go. And as always, it's always at the end of the program that inflow the phone calls, so we're going to move now to Brian. Brian, ask your question of Andrew.
Yes, my name is Brian.
Morning, Brian.
I turned 80 last year, and I was going to get a gopher, but I haven't done that because it's a bit slow from where I live from the shops. So I wanted to think about getting an e-bike.
Mm-hmm.
Because I handed my licence in, I don't have one. Can I still get an e-bike?
Well, you could buy one, but you can't ride it on the road or the footpath without at least a learner's permit, Brian, after the 31st of August. So You'll have to get yourself to Transport and Main Roads, and then I believe you'll also need an annual letter from your GP saying that you're fit to drive.
Okay. Yep. Right. Yep. Okay. I just wanted to know that because I was going to get a gopher and I don't need anything for that.
No. Look, great question, though. I hadn't actually thought of that one myself.
Because the gopher's too slow.
Oh, dear.
I'm about 2 to 3 kilometres from our nearest shop, and if I want to go and get a loaf of bread or something like that...
An e-bike's very convenient for that sort of thing, and you can park it straight out the front and put a chain on it, so it sounds like a good idea, but as I said, from the 31st of August, you're going to need a licence to be able to do that.
Thank you so much. That's all I wanted to know.
Good on you, Brian. All right, we're moving now on to Jeff. Jeff, ask your question of Andrew. Jeff, you there?
Yes, I really enjoy your show, and I've got a question regarding when you're buying a ticket, like to a theme park, and if you don't follow the instructions, is there any consequence? Like, I went to like a water slide park, and every slide had a thing that you wasn't, with my condition, wouldn't be allowed to ride the slide. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering whether they should have given that information before I bought the ticket, or if I ignore their sign and say, well, my risk management says I should be able to ride it, is there any consequences there?
Okay, well, normally they'd be doing these things for insurance purposes. If there's medical or other conditions and they're worried about people using the equipment in a way that might cause them damage, they may be found liable and they may stop you from using it. Typically, there'd be terms and conditions at these parks, and I'm sure you could ask them for it beforehand. Also, if you're not aware of something that would have changed your decision, Australian consumer law may kick in. If you bought it, turned up, couldn't use it, you may be eligible for a refund on the basis that you wouldn't have purchased it had you known the other information at the time of purchase.
Right. So if I just ignore their sign and nothing happens, there's no real consequences. But if there's
if they don't kick you off the ride and you're not injured, then no one would ever know. If you are injured or they do kick you off the ride, they may kick you off the ride because they're very worried about you injuring yourself, and they're fully within their rights to ask you to leave their premises if they think you're being dangerous to yourself or someone else.
Okay. Yeah.
Good on you. Best of luck on the water slides.
I just think that all the conditions seem to be excessive, but I should probably say doing an insurance.
It's all about safety.
After Dreamworld, they went very risk averse at all of the theme parks.
Yeah. Okay.
Good on you, Jeff. Right. We're going to have to move on, and it is now a very good morning to Amy. Amy, you there? Ask your question of Andrew.
Yes, it's about my husband's will. He died in 2020. Mm-hmm. He's an ex-policeman. He was in the force for nearly 30 years. Anyway, what I wanted to know was my ex-son-in-law had his will. I mean, Morris got on very well with him while he was alive. But anyway, I know I should have got the money out of Morris's super, but, oh God, I just said the word that I shouldn't, but anyway.
Okay, so super is outside of the will generally, and that would be on the terms of whatever death benefit he had named. Have you seen a copy of the will, Amy?
Yeah, I have. I've even got a copy of the will. Because
so are you concerned that it hasn't been given out properly, or what is your concern?
It hasn't been given out properly, I know.
Okay, well, you have 6 years from the date of death to be able to claim against the executor if it hasn't been done properly. We're getting very close to 6 years. So
I know we are. It'll be 6 years in August.
Okay, well, I would urgently suggest that you actually seek paid legal advice to have a look at the will if you're looking at any concerns about it not being distributed properly, or you'll limit your time to be able to do anything about it.
Yeah, I know that it's not done properly. I was the beneficiary, but if I did not have sound of mind, I'm in my 80s, and I have got sound of mind, I found out that the will was given, if I didn't have sound of mind, my two grandsons, who is his sons, would, get the money, so to speak. He has never given me anything from the court or whatever. I've tried to get in touch with him, and all I got was an answer, but no phone number and no address.
Okay, well, you can, as I said, I think your time is rapidly running out on this matter.
Okay.
I strongly recommend you can get any of the probate information from the Supreme Court. You do have 6 years from the date of death to be able to challenge if it hasn't been distributed properly. And I think a professional is going to have to look at the actual terms of the will and what's been distributed, because that executor would be personally liable if they haven't followed the rules properly.
Could I get the police just to charge him?
No. They'll say
No.
it's a civil matter.
Okay, because I thought that would have been easier for me, for my age and that, you know.
If you take it to my community legal on a Thursday night at Robina, and they can have a look at the will there, but unfortunately without the specifics I can't really give you more advice on that, Amy.
Okay, then. Thank you for your help.
Good on you, Amy. All right, now we're moving on to Trish. Trish, ask your question of Andrew. Trish, you there?
Oh, yes. Thank you. Just a quick one. My son left his wife the beginning of 2024, owing to his wife being involved with drugs, alcohol and gambling. Left him pretty much with nothing. Came to live with me for 12 months, but has sort of moved out and now renting with other family. My question is that he is actually afraid to file for a divorce based on the company that she keeps. My question is, if my husband or I pass away, is there any time frame within which she could possibly claim her portion of inheritance?
Yes.
Based on the separation?
So they're separated but not divorced. They weren't in a de facto relationship, so they've got 12 months to do a property settlement after the divorce. And it's whatever was in the possession of the two parties at that date where the percentage split is decided by the courts or agreed by them. So if he were to inherit $1 million and they're married, she may be able to claim a significant portion of that. So I would advise that he gets divorced, even if he needs to notify the police, and if anything bad happens, apply for a domestic violence order. But a divorce would be what I would recommend if he's worried about protecting his assets long term.
Oh, it's not really his assets. He hasn't got anything, neither has she. But it's more about my husband's and my assets if we pass away, because he's a beneficiary. And because
well, if they're legally his, then they can be divided up in a property settlement.
Okay.
So
right.
a property settlement will be 12 months from the date of divorce. If they've already been separated for 12 months, he could apply for a divorce imminently, and then that would start the clock ticking for when she could come up with a property settlement claim. Outside of that 12 months, she'd have to go to the court and have extenuating circumstances. But I'd advise he gets divorced sooner rather than later.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Tricia. We've got another caller on the line. Trish, if you just hold there for a moment, and we're going to have to run off to our local news bulls, and we've run out of time this morning. If you were hoping to get some free legal advice, Andrew joins us again next week at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday. Please don't leave it too late to make those calls, and we'd love to hear from you. Andrew, great show, great information.
It was great, and great participation by the audience. Thank you for calling in.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Legal Matters, proudly brought to you by our trusted sponsor, Bell and Senior Lawyers. Call them today for all your legal needs on 07 55 32 8777. A copy of this and past programs and all relevant resources will be available for you to replay or download on bellsenior.com.au and 4crb.com.